The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Discretion is advised.
Welcome one, welcome all to episode number 81 of Rare Form Radio. And, you know, they say that 81 is the luckiest of all the podcast numbers to achieve. I don't know who said that, but I'm sure it's very, very, very famous podcaster said that. So with episode 81 comes a new month, the month of February, which means the Rare Form Residency continues. So first we had Lisa Raffel, and that was a blast. It was disgusting. It was funny. It was eye-opening. Last month we had Steve Isaacs talking about MTV and his time as a VJ and, you know, shitting in a box and giving it to me as a gift. Now we're taking a little turn with someone who I've technically known for a long time, but don't actually know very well. So this is going to be a fun month, or it could be awful. I mean, we could find out in 10 minutes that we actually hate each other, and then it'll be a super weird 4 weeks. So without further ado, she is an actress. She is a podcaster. She's a stand-up comedian, and she's a Korean. Now, I know some of you know me and my personality on podcasts for the last 10, 12 years. I'm the guy that makes all the racist jokes. That's what I do. And I'm here today busting myths that I'm a goddamn racist. Please welcome my guest for the month of February, Miss Helen Hong.
You took me off guard. I was like, what's he going to say? Like, what else am I?
That's it. I mean,
what I would have said is she's about to take her bra off.
Yeah, we were starting, we were talking a little bit before this, and
yeah, and I was complaining that my bra is too tight because I've gained the COVID. You know, everyone says it's the COVID-15. I feel like mine's like the COVID-22 at this point. Because all I do is eat potato chips, and like, who freaking wears bras anymore? Like, there's no reason.
I don't.
You don't. I mean,
as soon as COVID hit, I'm like, no more bras for me. I'm not doing it. I'm going to live comfortable. You know, there's an ongoing joke. There's an ongoing joke on the show about me having boobs, because there's been times
you have boobs, man boobs, boobs.
You're already making me very upset. Please don't say that word. It's very sensitive for me. I've had a touch of them before, and I'm not a fat dude.
A touch of moobs.
A touch of moobs. Just like a mild case, you know?
It's like my favorite fragrance.
If we're comparing it to COVID,
a touch of moobs.
I have moobs that don't put me on a ventilator, but I don't feel great. You know what I mean? So it's not the worst case scenario. But since COVID, I've been walking like 2 miles a day, every day. Yes.
Are you one of these jerk holes? Can I curse on the show?
Please say everything.
Oh, okay. Then are you one of these assholes that has taken the COVID lockdown opportunity to better themselves as a human being? You know what? Fuck off, Dan. I call you Dan Moobs Cleary from now on.
Oh, that hurts so bad. That really does hurt.
I can't believe it.
No, I'm not like that. Like I am probably the laziest person that you've ever met who's not like a vegetable. You know, I really don't like to do anything. But when like the March kind of lockdown happened, just to kind of like, I'm fine sitting on my couch all day, every day. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but it's true. I'm lazy and I love it. But I decided to, if we're going to be home for, at that time, I thought it was going to be like 2 or 3 months. Who would have known that I should just get out and get some air a little bit, since I can't see friends. Like, I'm not going to be on tour with bands or doing anything. So I just, I started doing a small walk, and then that walk became like, you know, there's like from my house around a few blocks, it's like a perfect 2 mile hike, or no, a 2 mile like flat ground walk. So I've done that every day since March, and titties be gone for the most part.
Wow. Damn. And that got rid of your moobs?
Got rid of my moobs. It gave me these like really beautiful thin legs, which usually I've grown up.
You say so yourself.
If I do, yeah, I'm a very modest dude, but I do have these very nice legs now, and which is great for me because I've always had like these like childbearing women's hips like my whole life, and it's been very upsetting. Probably more upsetting than the moobs actually, because I've always had this like beautiful childbearing figure.
I dated a guy in college that was like that. He was like pear-shaped.
Okay, please let me know what that was like for you.
It was the weirdest thing. I mean, yeah, it was strange having sex with a pear-shaped man.
Like when you were hitting it from behind, would you just hold his hips and just kind of...
I was like, yeah.
So was he aware of it? Was he sensitive about that?
He certainly was aware of it, and we used to joke about it to each other, and he was, thank God, not sensitive about it. Like I think he even said, one time, yeah, I have these childbearing hips.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was definitely pear-shaped. It was strange that he was so hippie. He was also tall. He was like 6'1" or something. So I think that helped.
He can carry it better that way.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm 5'10", so it's a little bit more apparent,
Compacted, yeah.
But
you're a
again,
short pair.
Yeah, I'm a short pair. Yeah, I'm not like one of these long, stretched out pairs. So I'm grateful. But yeah, I've been walking, and it's been good for my head. And I listen to podcasts or Howard Stern my whole walk, so it's been good for like cranking through all the podcasts and everything.
I don't know what my deal is. I have a dog. I in a stroke of amazing luck, I got a dog last December. Like 2 months before the lockdown happened. And he's the first dog I've ever had. It was like so lucky because now you can't get a dog. Apparently dogs are sold out everywhere. Like,
is that true?
You cannot get a dog. Yes.
Oh my God.
Because so many people wanted to get a lockdown dog, like a COVID dog, a quarantine dog. And so all the shelters were sold out. Like you just could, like everybody was like, I need a dog. People were adopting dogs left and right. And my best friend who lives in Silver Lake, she started searching for a dog in September, and she would like go to all these rescue, she would email all these rescues, and they were like, good luck. You're number 50 on the line.
Whoa.
And she's like, what? They're like, we'll put you on the wait list. I mean, it was crazy.
I mean, that's a beautiful thing, but
it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. But it's crazy. Like, so she started looking for a dog in September, and she didn't get a dog until I want to say January or December. Like it took her months to get a dog.
It's funny that like the dog pounds are empty, yet orphanages are probably just still completely full. Just like, no kids, give me a dog,
Give me the dog. Can I actually trade in this kid for that
Please,
dog?
Please.
Yeah. But so I've had Dodger since December. And so I walk him for at least an hour a day. So I don't know why I'm like COVID-22 at this point. Like literally nothing fits.
That's weird because you should be
thick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well,
it might be the bag of potato chip. It might. Yeah.
There's a Koreanness. There's a Korean build too, isn't there? That like Koreans have meat in their bones. It's one of the best features of Korean women, if you ask me personally.
Yeah, we're not the skinniest. Well, some of us, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like Koreans are generally slim, but yeah, I would say we're more shapelier of all the Asians, perhaps.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm thick, man. Right now, I'm like, I feel really thick. And the saddest thing is like, I'm an actor, and they usually have a wardrobe department and all these things. But because of COVID now, all the projects are like, guess what? You're dressing yourself. And I'm like, shit, nothing fits.
Oh shit!
I literally had to do a wardrobe fitting in my own house with my own clothes and like take pictures of myself in my own clothes. I'm supposed to play this businesswoman this week coming up on a sketch show. Mm-hmm. And so I emailed them all, and I'm like, well, I can't button the bottoms. So
shoot high.
If you want me to wear this, you're going to have to get this tailored or buy me a new set of bottoms because nothing's closing.
So what has this past year been like for you? I mean, you have your hands in a lot of things, but I imagine like podcasting is probably thrived a bit this year because of what we can do here now. And everyone's home, so it's easier to get people to help out. But as far as acting, but especially stand-up,
stand-up's like completely dead. You know what? Stand-up was completely dead for a good few months, and then slowly clubs started opening back up. At the end of last year, I'd say around October, November, clubs started opening back up. But like I'm not comfortable. Like I have a pregnant lady. I live with a pregnant lady.
I know her.
I guess we should explain that. I guess we should explain the pregnant
lady.
Okay,
quickly, we'll jump into that. Yeah, go ahead.
I live with my sister, and we're both single. And I decided years ago that I never want to be a mother, and I never want to have a baby, and I never want to have kids. My sister, meanwhile, is desperate to have a baby. She ain't got no man. And so she turkey basted herself with website bought sperm. And now we have a baby, and now I'm gonna be the dad, I guess.
Congratulations, Papa Helen. Congratulations.
I'm like, it's so ironic. I'm like, I decided years ago, I'm like, I'm not a mother type. I don't want kids. I'm not really crazy about kids.
Are you excited? Are you excited to be an aunt?
My sister's like, guess what? You're gonna be a mommy. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, I unplugged myself. 1 second. There we go. Sorry. Are you excited to be an aunt?
I am so excited. I'm so excited that my sister, I love my sister. We get along great. You know my sister. She's one of the best humans on earth. And if anyone, the irony is like, if anyone should be a mom, she should be a mom. Like she's so patient. She's so kind. She's loving and like great with kids. I'm like the opposite of all those things. I'm like super impatient. I'm like me. I like being the center of my universe. I am super egotistical and like an egomaniac. Like I would be the world's worst fucking mother, but she would make a great mother. So I'm excited for her. But because she's doing it by herself and because we live together, ostensibly, I'm going to be mom too.
I love it.
Like our kid's going to be like, I have two mommies. They're not lesbians.
They're related.
Yeah.
I love that you say our kid. That's so sweet to me.
Yeah.
That's so nice. So basically, people listening, the reason Helen and I know each other is because of her sister. So we all grew up in, well, do you say you grew up in Massachusetts or New York?
I say more New York. I spent more of my childhood in New York and more of my like formative time, I would say, is more New York.
Okay.
The whole time I was in Massachusetts, I felt like an alien from Mars. I was like, where am I? What is this place? Like, what am I doing here?
That's my wife is the same way. She's from Saratoga, New York, but she spent a lot of time in New York, but moving to Massachusetts, especially the town that we lived in, is like, who are these people? Where is any black person? Where is everybody?
Seriously.
But Helen's sister, Amy, I have been close friends with since I was like 14 years old. So I'm sure I met you back then at some point. I met your parents back then at some point. And Amy has been one of my favorite people, literally one of my favorite people of my entire life.
Amy told me the funniest thing that you said, which is like, Amy just recently moved to LA where you and I live and have lived. But Amy's new to LA and you're actually one of her only friends in LA. But she moved here in the middle of quarantine lockdown. And she was like, oh, I guess we can't really hang out too much because it's so bad here in LA. And then she suggested to you that you guys do a Zoom hangout. And you literally said, I would rather let our friendship die.
It's true. It's kind of true.
I would rather never fucking talk to you ever again than do a Zoom hangout.
I mean,
I heard you say that and I slow clapped.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I love that you and I right now are able to do this, but if there was like 3 or 4 more people on the screen and people are talking over each other, sometimes there's a slight delay.
And we're supposed to be like drinking and having happy hour. No.
I would rather literally just sit and look at my hands and just like, this is more fun than doing that. And and I love you guys. I love her. I love all my friends. I just don't want to do that.
I completely agree with you. That's why I slow clapped when I heard you said that. I was like, because Amy is so social and she literally does these Zoom happy hours. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, are you kidding me?
Well,
Like,
she's stupid.
She's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live with a stupid woman who's going to have a baby that I'm going to help raise.
I really hope she doesn't have a stupid kid. Please don't let her have a stupid kid.
Well, luckily, the amazing thing about having a baby by squirting juicy juice up you with a turkey baster is that you can pick the juicy juice. You can pick the donor and like basically you could pick like superhero, hot, Harvard educated, whatever IQ. Like you can literally like shop for, like in your case, you shop for amps or guitars or whatever you shop for online and do all the specs and stuff. You could do that with a dude.
You can fine tune your baby.
Yes.
Yeah. Custom.
You can find the most amazing sperm out there.
You know how you can go to like Nike.com and customize your own shoes? Now you can do it inside your womb, which is just incredible. Really incredible.
Yeah.
So LA is how long have you been here for now?
I moved here in 2012. So what is that?
Almost 10 years. 9 years.
Yeah.
I've been here for like 21 years now. I think I'm in my 22nd year.
Damn.
So right now we are in the thick of the COVID spreading, and ICU beds are completely overrun, and no restaurants are open. Nothing's happening.
Such a bummer. I did not realize how much I would miss restaurants.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea. Like,
yep.
I mean, I even just going to restaurants by myself. I go to restaurants by myself a lot because I go on the road.
Yep.
My going on the road is not like you're going on the road because you're going on the road with a crew.
True.
Right?
True,
I go on the road by myself. I'm literally the only person in my, if I'm headlining a club, like I land, I'm alone in the hotel. I go to the club by myself. I don't know anybody. And you
don't go with a manager or a tour manager or anybody like that? Nothing?
No, I'm a stand-up comic. Like, what is there to need? Like, I don't need any, like, it's so funny. Like, whenever I like perform at colleges or whatnot, and they're like, what do you need? Like, what are your tech specs? I'm like, I literally need a microphone and a Coca-Cola. Like, that's literally all I need.
Oh my God, you should see.
My instrument is myself. Like, I don't need anything.
My God, you should see the stuff that the guys I work for need. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like you're traveling with like hundreds and hundreds of pounds of gear and wires, and if you're missing something, you got to run out and get it. And like all that stuff. Like stand-up comedy's like it's just my voice. And literally a bottle of water and a Coca-Cola. Like that's like, like on the list of things that they like, what do you require for your performance? I'm like a bottle of water and a Coca-Cola. And if there's no stage, put a box there I can stand on.
I'm good.
So people can see me.
Yeah, but my days off on tour are kind of like yours. Like I kind of keep to myself on days off. Give me a high-speed internet connection and a bed, and I'll take a bath. And I'll walk and I'll get my own food. So I'm with you as far as like the eating alone and doing that. I love going to the movies by myself. I love going to restaurants by myself. I love it. I love it. But
some people
I miss
really,
people.
Yeah. No, see, I don't.
You don't.
I really don't. I don't miss people. I didn't realize how much of a loner that I am until this all happened. And I was like, I feel fine. So, I mean, I don't feel fine. Like I feel the freaking dread and anxiety that everybody's feeling, but I don't feel the need to. You know what? What's weird is more than missing like hanging out with my friends is being at a bar by myself or a restaurant by myself and seeing people around me. I guess I miss that more for some reason. Like anonymous humanity around me. I miss that more than actual one-on-one interaction.
So you miss knowing that you're part of a moving society.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because it is a bummer when I walk around and I don't see a soul. For if I'm like, I was on Ventura Boulevard in Studio City the other day and it was just deserted.
My God.
And that's usually a really busy street. Like it's all businesses, restaurants, bars, shops, massage parlors. Like it's just a really busy street, and it was just deserted. And I was like, yeah, this feels,
it's crazy. I worked a pre-taped video thing for like a David Bowie celebration 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we recorded it in like a club on Hollywood Boulevard. And at 8 or 9 o'clock, I went out to get some like food for myself. And, Hollywood Boulevard is usually just going crazy with people all the time.
It's the Times Square of LA.
Yes. But now the only people out are the lunatics, are like the scary folks.
Oh, yikes.
So the guys that, may not be wearing pants or have one shoe or have like two grocery carts full of like bottles and trash and whatever.
Yeah.
And like people on the street screaming. So like usually in Hollywood Boulevard, when you're walking, you have to guess who you want to try to avoid. Now there's no guessing. You just avoid. If you see a person, just
run.
Just avoid. But it's crazy. But now in the height of this, LA is opening again. As of, I think in a couple days, LA is going to open back up as far as outdoor dining and all that kind of stuff. How do you feel about the state of like LA right now?
I welcome the outdoor dining. I did think that there was a lot of I did think indoor dining was super dangerous. And like, and I've seen places where it's like, whoa, those people are way too packed in there, and like the bars that are enclosed and stuff. But we have, it's LA. We have so many outdoor patios and bars that have outdoor spaces and restaurants that have outdoor spaces. And some of them are great. And a lot of them put so much work into making their outdoor space. Like they converted parking lots and they converted like sidewalks, and they did all this work to try to make things safe. And then the second shutdown happened, and it was like, oh, what a bummer. It's just not the same like getting takeout and just sitting opposite your pregnant sister every fucking night of your life.
Right.
Oh God, it's just not the same.
Yeah, that's something that my wife and I struggled with for this whole time, is like, even with the outdoor dining, like I didn't feel right even doing that, just because of like, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I thought the optics of it were bad. Like it gives off the impression that things aren't as bad as maybe they are, but I also understand it's probably safe. I grapple with it, and I don't know what the right answer is.
I can't believe how like, there's kids in their 20s who have been partying throughout this whole thing. Like, it's like they don't care. They've been like, I did a comedy show between the first and the second lockdown when we were opened back up, and I actually did one of the first stand-up shows live.
Oh no shit!
In like the back patio of a restaurant in Brentwood or something. And it was nice. It was like a big, airy open space, and they had tables out there. But the girl who was producing the show was like 22. And so a lot of the audience were her friends that showed, like her regular,
patrons or whatever.
Yeah, her patrons, exactly. And so the audience was really young. They were mostly like 22, 23, 24 years old. And I was like just giddy to be there. And I was like holding the mic, and I was like, I don't even remember how to do this anymore. And I was like, guys, can you believe we're at the house? Like, oh my God, clap if you this is the first time you've been out of the house. Nobody clapped. Like they were like, no, we've been out.
This is just our life. Yeah.
Like
whatever, old lady. Yeah.
Totally. I felt like an old lady. I really did. I felt like an old lady for having been like cooped up in my house. So if you're 22, you're out there, you're partying, you're still living your life.
I know. And like, that's part of the reason why we're still involved in this. But I also I remember being in my 20s, and no one's going to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you feel invincible, and it kind of is looking that way. There's very few people in their 20s who are dying of it.
I know.
So they're kind of like, well, it ain't a thing.
Right, for them, but
like, who cares if grandma bites it?
Right, fuck her. She's had a good run, So how long, when you did that comedy gig, how long had it been since you'd done stand-up before that?
That wasn't the first time I did stand-up. The first time I did stand-up, ironically, was for like a TV taping.
Nice.
was like a big internet show. So the Montreal, the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival is the biggest comedy festival in the world. It takes place every year in Montreal in June or July, and it's like every famous comedian goes there, and like everybody in the comedy world goes there, and the festival lasts like a month, and all these famous comics show up, and like it's like you get to see all these comedians that you came up with back in the day that you haven't seen in years, like New York, LA, like Atlanta, Chicago, like all these comics from everywhere come. And obviously they couldn't do it this past year. The whole thing had to go virtual. And so I was asked to do one of the internet shows for LOL, which is Kevin Hart's network. And so in July, I hadn't done stand-up since March, April, May, June, July. 4 months I hadn't done stand-up. And like in stand-up, I don't know if this is the same in the music world. If you don't do stand-up for like 2 weeks, you're already rusty.
Oh yeah, it's the same.
Like you're already like, oh shit, like I like the cadence of your jokes is off.
Oh yeah.
Like you're even like the standing on stage feels strange.
Sure.
You know, like stand up is something you have to do every night. And it is something that if you're a professional stand up, you do it. You're doing it every night. Like, you know, comics, if you talk to comics, like if you go 2 days or 3 days without doing a set, it's like, whoa, that was forever. So 4 months was literally forever. And to go from not doing any comedy at all, except for in my closet, like sitting it like hunched over in my closet doing Zoom shows, to suddenly like I'm on this nice lit television camera stage at Kevin Hart's studio, and like they had coronavirus tested the whole audience. They were all socially distanced. They were all masked up. There were like 50 people in the audience, but it's like the whole professional setup. Like it was weird, and then halfway through, I completely forgot my jokes.
Oh no!
I literally did. I just had to be like, "Yo, I can't remember what to say. I got to pull my notes out. I'm sorry." And they just laughed because everyone was in the same boat. Because it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, we were all talking like, this is literally my first time on stage in 5 months. Like,
that's incredible.
I don't know what I'm doing.
And like, I know like because I work for some bands, and bands can go in and do these like, you know, virtual concerts, and you don't get like the feedback of a crowd, but
it's just not the same.
But bands can do it because when they're playing music, you don't hear the crowd anyway. Obviously, you feed off looking at them, but I feel like stand-up comedy, you rely so much on that immediate gratification.
So much.
Like it's everything.
It's everything. It's everything. And I've done Zoom shows now where, you know, the Zoom shows it's what we had to resort to during the pandemic. And so there's actually quite a lot of Zoom shows now. And I was doing a bunch of them during the lockdowns. And it's like, I've had to do ones where, you know, they tell the audience to turn their mics off. And so I'm just like, God. and then she pulled her dick out. Crickets.
All right. And now for my second joke.
Like literally, it's like that. It's so painful. It's so painful to be like, especially jokes that you know are fire. That you know, like I've told these jokes a million times. I know they are heavy hitters. They work every time. And it's like that's my punchline.
How do you
and to just have to be like, okay, well, yeah. So then.
How do you
like so painful.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that feeling?
So painful. I mean, it's so awkward. There's nothing more awkward. Even like, did you see the New Year's Eve show, like New Year's Rockin' Eve?
Nope.
Okay. New Year's Rockin' Eve. So they did do a New Year's Rockin' Eve. Obviously, they didn't let anybody into Times Square. They shut it down. They basically barricaded these little like boxes that were socially distanced apart, so 6 feet away from every other. They had little mini barricades that were like VIP boxes, and the only people that were allowed to show up were like cops and firefighters, I think. Okay. Like frontline workers, which I think is great in New York.
Sure, that's great. Cool.
but it's, it was, compared to what it normally is in the middle of Times Square when the ball drops, when it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, there were maybe 50 people. And it's still like Carson Daly, or is it Carson? No, it's Ryan Seacrest.
Seacrest, yep.
Ryan Seacrest, and it's like J-Lo performed, and I think Rihanna performed, like all these like big names, and like, J-Lo's doing this big song and dance, and then like she stops, and you just hear like,
no. It's not worth it.
It's only 50 people. I mean, you couldn't hear anything. And so even watching that was like, this is weird. It's weird.
Yeah. So why?
Because you kind of get a cue. Like you get a cue from when to laugh from other people. Like you hear other people laugh and the laughs build and stuff.
Of course. Yeah. And laughter inspires other laughter. And no one wants to be the only person laughing. Like, even for me, I'm not a shy person at all. But if I'm watching a comedy at a movie theater and there's a part that I think is funny, I won't laugh out loud unless other people do. And it's just a weird, like, I don't know why we are like that in society. We maybe just don't want to stick out, but it's got to be so strange. Like, why?
It's so strange.
Why why do it? Why do the Zoom comedy?
Because you have to, because you're, like I'm a comic and that's what I've been doing for 15 years of my life, and it's my art form. So like still things are still funny.
Okay.
Like I did that show for the Kevin Hart LOL thing, and like I didn't do a single old joke. All the jokes were brand new because I was just talking about how fucked up, like all the funny things that that have developed over COVID. Like I had a joke where I said, I read online that like even before the coronavirus hit, I read somewhere that not wearing a bra strengthens your boob muscles because your boobs have to work really hard to hold themselves up. And I'm like, guys, my boobs are jacked right now. Like this boob is The Rock and this boob is Terry Crews. And like, I was just doing jokes like that, observational humor about like the weird world we're living in. And it was great because people were like, girl, I hear you,
Sure.
So, it's, funny stuff is still happening, and like my brain still processes funny and still absorbs funny things happening. And now I'm going to have a shit ton of new jokes because I'm about to be a mother, not by my choice.
Oh my God. You have so much material coming your way.
I'm going to have so much material. Like you want to hear and I'm already writing the sitcom. Like you want to hear Modern Family. Check this shit out.
You took the thought out of my mind. I was like, this needs to be a reality show or something,
It's going to be a sitcom because like my parents are Korean. They had never heard of like a single mother by choice situation. Like they didn't even know how that worked. I had to explain the turkey baster thing to my mom. Like, yeah.
Well, wait, if I remember right, your parents are your parents really religious?
My parents are religious. They
Okay.
go to church. Thankfully, they're not like militant evangelicals or anything like that. Like they're not like, we're going to disown you.
Okay.
But they're less religious and more just old school Korean people. Like they had never heard of artificial insemination. Like I don't know how to say artificial insemination in Korean.
Right.
And I don't think they would even understand the concept.
How did to walk me through that conversation? And I want to know how, because like you've done a few really cool things online with your parents. The thing with your dad I want to talk about in a second, which was just so moving and incredible. But your parents seem super cool. And,
my parents are super cool, but they're still old and first generation Korean immigrants, and they're churchgoers. They're elders at their church. So they're very old school in a lot of ways. I mean, big credit to them. My sister basically told my parents, like she resisted. She didn't tell them until like almost the second trimester of this baby. Cause she was like every weekend she'd be like, I gotta tell mom. And I'd be like, no. and then Sunday night would roll around and be like, well, I guess next weekend then. Like she wanted to have a weekend. She wanted to have a weekend where like she could I don't have to work. Like I could focus on just talking to mom.
That's so good.
Like, okay, this is the weekend I'm going to tell mom. And I'd be like, no, don't do it. And then Sunday would roll around. She'd be like, yes, this weekend. So almost like she was almost pregnant for like 3 or 4 months before she actually broke down and told mom and dad. And she told them, and they did the scariest thing that you can ever hear from Korean parents, which is silence.
Nothing.
Oh, shit. When there's when there's silence on the other end of the line, that's when you know you're in shits. Like you're up shit creek. You're like, holy, I've really stepped in it now.
I have goosebumps.
They were completely silent. And then they were like, okay. And they hung up the phone and we didn't hear from them for 48 hours.
Oh no.
Yeah. And like my sister was freaking the fuck out because she's like, are they going to disown me? Like, is this the end of my relationship with mom and dad? Like, is dad going to have a heart attack, like, and die? Like, what is going to happen? And thank God they just needed that 48 hours to process the information.
Okay.
And then they were cool. Like,
did they call back or did you guys have to call?
My mom sent a text. Like, they separately sent us texts that were like, we're just, my mom sent a text like, you have to take care of your health now, and like, you make sure you're eating right, which is their version of love, right? Like, make sure you're eating well.
Of course.
And then my dad said something about being a grandpa. So,
oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it was cool.
So it wasn't like after much consideration, we decided that we do still love you for now, or so it could have gone worse.
Yeah, it could have been way, way worse. And like, to my parents' credit, I personally know a lot of Korean American parents who are fucking hardcore and who would have disowned my sister for sure.
Enjoying the podcast? If you'd like to show support for Rare Form, there are a couple of ways. Become a patron at patreon.com/rareformradio. Make a one-time donation or choose from a few subscription levels paid monthly for extra benefits. Those extra benefits include bonus episodes not available to the public, exclusive live streams, more interactions with the gang, along with other special perks that will change over time. Choose your level of donation and know that your contributions go to keeping the show running and growing, paying crews behind the scenes, and just supporting independent artists. That's patreon.com/rareformradio. You can also get Rare Form merch by going to rareformradio.threadless.com. T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, all kinds of silly shit. We're constantly adding new things and limited time only goodies. That's rareformradio.threadless.com. You can also help build the show by subscribing, leaving a review, and most importantly, leaving us a rating on iTunes and Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Lastly, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram by searching @Rare Form Radio. Thanks for supporting independent entertainment.
But I think, can I just take some credit here for greasing the wheels by telling them that I want to be a stand-up comic 15 years ago? And
how did that go?
And they're like, what? Literally, that was the conversation. I'm going to be a comedian. What?
So at that point,
that was it. That was the extent of it.
Were there any successful Korean comedians besides like Bobby
Margaret
Lee?
Cho.
Oh, Margaret Cho. Of course.
Yeah, Margaret Cho was the first one. She was big in the 90s.
Yeah, of course she was. That's right.
Yeah, so my parents definitely knew about Margaret Cho. My parents have never heard of Bobby Lee, believe me.
Oh, I fucking love him so much.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a really good dude.
I don't know him personally, but his podcast and his whole thing, I've loved him forever. And he has my favorite joke of all time. Of all time. He made a joke that...
which is what?
That Koreans look like retarded Mexicans, which is just the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's my favorite. It's such a stupid observation, but now it's affected the way I see everybody now.
Now you can't unsee it. Now you're like, retarded Mexican.
It's great.
Like this whole conversation, you've been like, wow, she's such a smart retarded Mexican.
I feel like I'm doing like a Make-A-Wish Foundation for a disabled Mexican girl. So you're welcome, little girl. You're welcome. So when you tell your parents,
I will say Bobby Lee, can I just like interject and say like this one amazing thing about Bobby Lee. So the great thing about Bobby Lee is he is that wacky in person. He is
good.
Like he's straight up crazy and wacky and is like constantly naked for no reason and everybody's seen his dick. why.
Love it.
So, like, why? Just because. Hold on, my phone's still on.
Yeah, do it.
And then, but that being said, he's so wacky, but if you get into a conversation with him that's real, like he can go so deep.
Mm-hmm.
And he has given me such good advice in the past, like career advice of like, I remember one time, like we had this whole conversation about like, he's like, you just have to be really supportive of every other comedian around you and like just be giving and loving and like not be jealous. You know, there's so much jealousy in stand-up comedy, you can't help it.
Oh, in entertainment, like, you know, in all entertainment.
Because like you're coming up, you're grinding with all these people. Then suddenly like one person, like I came up with Amy Schumer.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Schumer and I did open mics together.
Holy shit.
I literally remember like Amy Schumer and I being in the basement of the Gotham Comedy Club in New York, being like, how do we get more stage time?
Oh my God.
Because we couldn't get stage time because we were like 12 years old.
Right.
We just started stand up, like we didn't know anything. And now she's Amy Schumer, you know?
I mean, an arena selling, you know, comedian.
Completely. And there's so much of that, like people that you were grinding out with, doing open mics with are suddenly like selling out arenas and like and there's no rhyme or reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, is Amy Schumer the most talented comedian I know? No, I know like 20 other comedians that are like just as talented, and why aren't they famous and rich? You know, like there's just no rhyme or reason to it. So like that kind of stuff can make you crazy. And I remember talking to Bobby Lee, and he was just like giving me this very zen advice about just being happy for people and not holding any jealousy and just really like giving of yourself. And how like he was telling me the story of how like the people who do Borat. Oh, why am I blanking on his name?
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, so Sacha Baron Cohen and he knew each other, and like Sacha Baron Cohen called him up one day and was like, hey, I don't have a role for you in this thing, but I really need a funny person to do this table read. I know it's probably beneath you, but would you be willing? And he's like, yeah, man, absolutely. And so he went and did a free table read for a completely different project for Sacha Baron Cohen, and like crushed it, gave 100% to just this random table read. But because he crushed it, that's when they wrote him in as Kim Jong-un in the
the
Dictator movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's how his relationship with Sacha Baron, like he just was doing a kindness, like a favor for this guy, and that turned into like a role for him on a big movie.
I love that.
Like, yeah. And I was like, man, like, so Bobby can be really deep and really generous of spirit.
Yep. That he reminds me, like, I know I've worked with and been friends with and done radio with Dave Navarro since 2008. And I know Dave and Bobby know each other. And when I watch Bobby, when I watch Bobby on his podcast or in interviews,
your balls just dropped.
They just did just now. 41. Yeah. I'm finally a man. How about that?
He's a man now.
I did it. You got to see it. You got to see it in person.
Your balls dropped over the Zoom.
Amazing. That's going to be the headline of this podcast. Dan's balls drop. But like Dave and Bobby seem so similar to me. They're both successful. They're both respected in their fields, and they both don't have like jealousy towards others. Or if they do, you can be jealous, but still supportive and happy for your peers, which is, it feels so much better. I mean, when I moved here in 99 to play in rock bands and try to like make it as, become my own rock star, and had that whole dream. And coming up, and I was in a couple bands, and all my friends were in bands, and so many of them would get like bummed out if their peers, who are their friends, had some good news. And I was always like, good for them. Like, good news for them, by the way, is good news for us. And even if it's not, these are people that you're supposed to care about. Like, let's champion around these people and put all the good stuff out there, because people deserve it.
Yeah, it's so much easier said than done, though, right? Because in this business, there is so much, I want to say, unfairness. Especially now we're seeing like, like a YouTube star will get a stand-up comedy gig that one of us has been working so, we've been working so hard and grinding it out and stand up and doing open mics for years and stuff. And then like suddenly like some kid on YouTube who's like 16 and has like 2.9 million followers will get a stand-up gig that should have gone to one of us. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff makes us crazy.
That makes sense. That happens in music too. It happens. I mean, there's podcasts to listen to or that I've listened to where I'm like, why do people love this? I really don't get it. Good for these people, but I really don't understand why people give a shit about this person or this band or this comedian. Like there's off air, there's someone I want to ask you about a comedian that I just don't understand how this person has a career. And I want you to dish it to me. Okay. Yeah, it's fascinating. I feel like we have to be rooting for each other. Otherwise, what's the point?
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah.
So who have been the comedians for you that have like really supported you throughout your career so far? And actors, actually, whoever like who's nurtured you through all of your things?
Oh God, so many people have been so kind. Like Arsenio Hall is someone who's always just been so nice to me. He was his show Arsenio came back for like a second. Mm-hmm. Like he was big.
Of course, I watched it. I loved it.
Yeah, when we were little, he was big. He had that big show, and then it went away, and they tried to revive it, and I think it lasted like 2 or 3 seasons. The revival. Mm-hmm. So the revival was actually that was my first late night talk show appearance as a comic, and I was so nervous. I was pacing backstage. I thought I was going to throw up. I had never done a TV appearance before. One of those classic, like short, the ones that you see on like The Tonight Show or like Jimmy Fallon or something.
You can find it. Really... You can find, if you're listening, you can find Helen's performance on Arsenio on YouTube.
So I was so nervous. And, what normally happens is there's a hype guy, like a audience. God, why am I blanking on what that title is? It's the person who just...
There's a name for it, and I can't think of it either.
Audience warm-up.
There you go.
That's what it is. Audience warm-up. The audience warm-up is the hype man, and like during the commercial breaks, he goes out and he keeps the audience warmed up, and he tells jokes, and he's like, all right, are you ready? When we come back from commercial, Arsenio's coming back. Are you ready? Yeah! Like that guy. So basically, like, I was just going to be a standalone segment, and the audience guy could have just gone out and been like, all right, we have a comedian coming up next. You guys give her a lot of love. Yeah. No, Arsenio Hall himself went out to the crowd right before I went on and told this amazing story. He's like, I remember being a completely young, unknown green comedian and going on the Tonight Show and how nervous I was. To perform on the Tonight Show, and I was like, my stomach was in knots. I know how important it can be and so pivotal it can be for a young comedian. This next girl, she's never done a late night show before, but she's fantastic. She's so talented. I think she's so funny. So y'all better give her a lot of love, just like that audience gave me love when I did the Tonight Show. And I was like almost crying backstage because like I didn't know him personally, like I had just been booked by the talent booker on his show, but he was so kind to me and I will never forget that. And they gave it up for me because he told them to.
That's great.
Like it was a primarily Black audience. They could have been like, who is this bitch?
Right. And so many hosts, they don't really give like, maybe they do, but I feel like they don't have to give a shit about every guest that comes out.
And they don't.
Right.
I know for a fact they don't.
Right.
But for him to do that, it was so above and beyond. It's so not necessary for him to do. It was so warm. And like to this day, I see him all the time. Well, I did see him all the time before. And he always will say something kind about me if I'm like following him, if I'm on a show and he's on right after me, he'll just say, yo, she was amazing. She did my show. She's a fantastic person. Like he's like, we have a good Twitter rapport. So he's someone that I always is like, oh, he's such a kind, great person.
I love that.
David Allen Grier. Do you know who he is?
Come on, dude. Of course I do.
I mean, these days, I don't know who anybody knows. Like, don't you feel like we live in a weird world where like nobody knows, like the fame is strange now.
Yeah, but you and I are in the age range of like, we grew up with like actual TV people, actual movie stars, actual rock stars. So I know all the people that were on Mad TV, SNL, The Cosby Show,
nobody knows those people anymore. Like, Kim Kardashian just, I hate to say it, Kim Kardashian went on that David Letterman show that's on Netflix right now.
Yep.
And she actually did a great interview, but she said she was telling her sisters, Kylie and Kendall, "Oh, I'm doing Letterman." And they literally went, "Who is that? Like, what is that?"
Come the fuck on.
I swear to God, they had no idea. They had never heard of Letterman.
How can you not accidentally know who Letterman is?
No, there's people, I would say people even under the age of 30 who don't really know what like the Tonight Show is. Like they're not into the Tonight Show. Like it's all kind of like all the late night shows are kind of hazy for them. Like Fallon's just a funny guy that they see clips of. Like Kimmel, they see clips of online. But like
I guess that's
that
true.
whole world of late night show. Like nobody watches that stuff anymore.
The intake is totally different than it used to be. Like now you will, everything is segmented out on YouTube. So you'll find like one segment or one interview or one sketch. But they don't understand, like, even still today, they do it the same way. But like the what makes those shows great is starting from the monologue and going all the way to the musical guest or the comedian and the ride you go on. I've been a night owl my whole life. So I watched Leno, and I remember Conan's first ever show. I was like, Conan, this guy's going to be my favorite ever. I watched all of them. I loved him. Yep.
Yeah. And I've even found myself like, my attention span has changed. Like I can't watch that stuff anymore. It even moves too slow for me. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, this is dragging. Like I wish I could just pick and choose like the clips that I want to watch. Like it's affected my brain. Like I can't sit through that stuff anymore. And now I find myself even being like, ugh, I'll just click on the clip.
I know. Like, I hate to say I'm guilty of it too, because I used to like literally like I would sit down and I'm committed. This whole hour, commercials and all, I'll probably watch the whole thing. And now it's like if the monologue's dragging a little bit, I'm like, forget it. Yeah. I guess seriously. I won't see Larry David tonight. Fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a crazy.
Anyway, going back
to
David Alan Grier.
Yes.
David Alan Grier is like the reason that I got my first agent in LA. Because I opened for him years ago in New Jersey. He was playing this big club in New Jersey called the Stress Factory, which is like, why would you name a comedy club Stress Factory? I don't know, but it's a great club. Mm-hmm. So I opened for him randomly. He did not hit on me, which is like
A+.
Already a plus. Right. already a plus. He was such a gentleman. And like a lot of people know him as an actor. He is a fucking fire stand-up comic. Mm-hmm. Like so funny, sharp, funny, like hysterical, like such a great performer. Crushed it all weekend. And we just had really cool conversations in the green room, and it was really neat. And his wife at the time was Korean, and so we were like bonded about kimchi. And like,
what is she now? If she was Korean then, what is she now?
She's now his ex.
I see.
No, she switched. She's trans ethnic.
Oh, fucking cool.
She's now Jamaican.
Yep. She identifies as Jamaican, which is great.
She got a very dark tan.
Perfect.
She's now Jamaican. And then years after that, I moved to LA, and I reached out to him, and he told my agency, like, you need to sign this girl. She's great.
My God.
Isn't that amazing?
Are you with that agency still?
Yes, I am with that agency. It's a big agency, one of the top 5 agencies in LA. And like, you know, it like for someone like him, like he's a beast and he's a veteran to vouch for me.
Yep.
When I was a nobody, when I moved to LA, I was nobody. Like I had done nothing. I had done commercials. I had never acted in anything legit. And it was like such a big deal. And like, it just means so much. And like, you know, that saying, when you get to the top, like send the ladder back down or send the elevator back down. That is so important, you know, to do that. Like if you've made it, like help someone. Like nobody makes it without people helping them.
That's the thing, is that so many people lose sight of that like you don't succeed without someone being in your corner or someone
nobody
giving you a break or saying something nice to somebody else about you.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's
and often
crazy.
it's never the person you think it's going to be.
Oh, that's true. Which is another example of like, be kind to everybody, because you never know who you're talking to or what it might lead to.
That's absolutely right.
You've had some. I mean, you just said you got here and you were nobody. You'd done nothing. You've done some cool things. Like my wife and I were just watching that show, The Unicorn, a few weeks ago on Netflix with Walton Goggins, and it's a funny drama show, but you have a great role in that. I love that character. Like you're just
I'm
so fixated.
Thirsty.
Yeah, it's great.
So thirsty for
you
Walton
do it well.
Goggins.
I think you're playing off something real. It feels.
By the way, I am thirsty for Walton Goggins in real life. Like he has the best ass.
Oh, does he?
Yes, he wears these really tight jeans, and I mean, like, they are not the leg part, but the ass part looks spray painted on, and he has a nice ass.
Did you let him know?
I didn't want to weird him out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to weird him out because I'm already playing this like very thirsty character for him. And like, there's like one episode where I'm like, okay, do you mind, Walton, if I like put my hands through your hair? And he's like, no, go for it. Like, so I'm already feel like I'm pushing.
But what he didn't know is that you meant his pubic hair.
And I meant not when the cameras are rolling.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, you meant back at your house later that night.
Can I come to your trailer and rub my hands through your pubes?
Well, you also had a great role, and this is one of the most fun things I've had watching television. I didn't know you were on this show until we were watching and saw you on Silicon Valley, which was such a surprise.
Yes.
I didn't expect that. And you were like,
oh my God,
what a cool show to be a part of, and a cast.
That show is amazing. Okay, first of all, Mike Judge is a legit genius.
No shit.
He is a legit genius. He created Silicon Valley. He created Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill, and wrote and directed Idiocracy, which, hello, we're fucking living it. Like, the man made that movie was it the 90s or the early 2000s he made that movie? And the thing is, like, it's so freaking accurate. We are living Idiocracy. It was like scary.
It was like a documentary for the last 4 years.
Yes. It's like frightening.
Yeah. It's wild.
And he did it as satire like 20 years ago. And he was like, haha, wouldn't it be funny? And it's like, no, this is like scary.
No, that guy's our president.
But the guy is a legit genius and also a snack. Oh my God, he's so hot.
I think my wife said the same thing. I think she was like, she didn't know who he was. I was watching some interview on YouTube of Mike Judge, because I also like Mike Judge a lot. And she's like, who is that? I'm like,
he's a snack.
Listen to the voice. You can't tell? She goes, no. I'm like, this is the guy that created Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill.
He's Hank Hill.
Yeah. Oh,
You know what? That's the weirdest thing when I first met him is he is Hank Hill. Like he voices Hank Hill and he sounds like Hank Hill.
Right. So that's his most natural voice.
I'm just talking. That's his most natural voice. And so I'm just talking to him and Hank Hill's voice is coming back at me. And I'm like,
damn it,
I don't think I can. I'm like, I don't think I can have this conversation. It's so weird. But he's a legit genius. And everybody who works on that show is fucking A game. Like, I mean, they're A level talent. I mean, every single actor is like an improv genius and just is such a great actor.
And Martin Starr's character on that show is one of my favorites. That's his name.
Funny.
I love it.
And so I was super nervous to do that show because I'm like, I better bring my A++ game because I do not want to, like, if I stink here, I am stinking up like some real primo stuff, you know?
Are you happy with what you brought? Are you happy with your performance?
I am. I mean, always you can be happy. Obviously, like I watch it, I'm like, oh, I could have done that. I could have done that. I couldn't do that. But Mike Judge told me I'm a great actress.
How about that? That's pretty good. That's pretty goddamn good. So let me ask you this. We're talking about Mike Judge. Really we love Mike Judge. What was more exciting for you, working for Mike Judge or with the goddamn Coen brothers?
I mean, obviously the Coen brothers, because I was so much younger then. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Coen brothers was like, I shot that in 2012.
Helen was she was in Inside Llewyn Davis, for people that are listening. Yes.
That was my first, it was literally like my first legit thing that I've ever done. And it
just
was
working for the Coen Brothers.
Like, that's so crazy. Like, that's not how it's supposed to happen. You're not supposed to have like never shot a movie before or a TV show ever, and suddenly the first thing you're shooting is a Coen Brothers movie. Like, that's not the way it's supposed to happen.
No, that's
I
like
literally had to call my friend
Scorsese.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Like, you're supposed to work for a bunch of shitty things first.
Yep.
And get the hang of it, and then work your way up to someone like the Coen Brothers. But Coen Brothers was like my first movie, and the reason why I booked it, this is a really cool story. So the way that auditions work is like you do this initial audition. I go to this audition, and the role, credit to the Coen Brothers, the role was written for an Asian woman.
Perfect.
Which the movie was set in the 60s. Like, they did not have to A, make her an Asian woman, or B, make her an Asian woman without an accent, which they specifically told me, because in the 60s, you know, any Asian person in New York probably would have had an accent.
Right.
But they're like, no, she's an academic. She's lived here her whole life. Like, let's just make her American. And I was like, fantastic. So, but I go to the initial audition. It's every Asian actress in the New York City area. Like in the tri-state area. So there's like 100 Asian bitches that all look like me that are sitting in the waiting room. And your initial audition is always like some 22-year-old intern with a camera is like reading the lines back to you like really flat, like, yes, and then would you like me to pour you some coffee?
So just vibeless, no vibe whatsoever.
Completely vibeless. And you have to act with that, like acting opposite like a cardboard box, basically. And she's running the camera at the same time, and it's just you and her, and she has no idea what she's doing. But usually, so what happens is they pull talent off of that tape, right? So that's the first round. They watch the tape. They're like, okay, these are the next 10 people that we like out of that group, right? And that's usually what happens is that's when you meet the casting director. You meet the casting director for the callback.
Okay.
And then if you get past that point, then you meet the director and the producers of the movie, right? That's usually what happens. And that's what I thought was going to happen. So I get a call back. I'm like, oh, I'm going to meet the casting director. That's great. No, I walk in. The casting director's there. She's leading me to the back room. We're turning a corner, and she goes, this is Joel, and this is Ethan. And I'm like, oh, hi.
Why are you guys here? Hi, guys.
Hey. Hi. Hello. I was not expecting this.
Whoa.
Yeah, but thank God I took those like that initial shock and nerves, and I just, sometimes, when you're nervous and you get that good energy and you can like use it in your favor.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yep.
Like, it like translated to adrenaline. So I was like super peppy, and I was like kind of talking really fast, and I was being kind of funny, and they were like laughing at things I was saying because I was like just nervous energy. And I swear, I think that's what booked the role for me. Is I was just this kind of quirky, weird, like, it seemed like I was fearless because I was just like talking, like,
wow,
talking like shit, shooting the shit. But really, I was super nervous. So, and thank God the nerves just hit me the right way.
When you get a role in a Coen Brothers movie, who is your first phone call? Who do you tell first?
No, I don't remember, but I do remember because I was so green and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I have a friend, her name is Diane Neal. She was a Law and Order. She was on Law and Order for years. If you're an OG Law and Order fan, she was the redheaded assistant DA. Her role name was Casey Novak.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
So,
okay.
Yeah. She was on it for years. Like, if you're an old OG Law and Order fan, you know her. Okay. She was the one with the red hair. So she and I are friends. I called her and I was like, holy shit, I just booked a Coen Brothers movie. Please teach me how to act in the next week.
I have 1 week to learn how to be a great actress.
I literally called her and like crying, and I was like, I have 1 week to figure out how to act.
That's amazing.
I went to her house and she's teaching me like a basic blocking, like, okay, then you stand here.
Wait, had you never taken
and if the camera's over
class?
there, you stand this way. No, because I was a comic.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
How I got into acting. I was a comic.
So why did you even go in for this? Like, what made you what made you decide to like, I'm gonna go try to be in this Coen Brothers movie? as an actress.
Because who the fuck doesn't want to be in a Coen Brothers movie? Like, we're all trying to, like, if you're a stand-up, your ultimate goal is to be Seinfeld.
I guess
like,
that's true.
Right? Like,
right.
Your ultimate goal if you're a stand-up comic is to have your own show.
Right.
That's like all the greats. Ray Romano, Seinfeld, Roseanne. Like, this is the path everyone takes. Like, you like rise the ranks to like the pinnacle of stand-up comedy, and then somebody gives you your own TV show. Like, that's the goal. That's the trajectory. And the better actor you are when you get there. Like, Seinfeld was a terrible actor.
Right.
But that was part of what was funny and charming about it, is that he was a terrible actor, and then he surrounded himself with brilliant actors.
That's what smart people do. If you're not great, hire the best crew that you can, hire the best other actors, people that will lift you up.
I mean that
I have a lot of friends who work in production.
Costanza and
Kramer
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, like they were brilliant actors, and that's what made him look great.
Sure. Even all the peripheral characters, all the soup Nazis and and Newman, the neighbor, and everybody. It's smart. Yeah.
So funny.
So how long were you on set for the Coen Brothers movie?
I was only on set for 2 days. And the scariest thing for me generally and specifically on that role, because I had never done anything before, they don't give you direction.
Oh shit.
Yeah, the Coen Brothers, and I've heard this from other actors who have worked on other projects with them, they cast you and then they trust you to do your own thing.
Is that good or bad? Like, in your opinion?
Me, it was horrible. For me, it was horrible because I'm a stand-up comic and I need immediate gratification that moment. Like, I'm a stand-up comic. I know when a joke is working and I know when a joke is not working that second.
That surprises
because I'm either getting
me.
laughs or I'm not, right?
That surprises me so much because
I need constant feedback.
Right.
And so I remember even going up to them at one point being like, hey, I can tweak it however you want. I can go faster or slower or bring it up or bring it down or like be a little bit more subtle, like whatever you want. And they're like, no, it's great.
That's fucking crazy to me because
the worst.
Like their writing is so specific that you would think they have every moment of their films like already planned out and they know what they want.
No, I was in a scene with 5 other actors. Yeah, 5 other actors. And the only person that I saw them give direction to was the lead, Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
That's the only person that I remember seeing them coming up to and like kind of whispering in between takes, like, hey, why don't you try blah, 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 or think about blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the only actor. And like, there were 4 other actors that didn't get anything, myself included. And the other terrifying thing is like every other actor in that scene was a veteran actor, like an amazing, like probably the acting experience in that room was like 100 years of acting. And then I contributed 1 day.
Yeah, hey, it's my first day, everybody.
It's like 100 days. And it's my first day. And I don't know what the fuck I was doing. But the smart thing that I did, or the thing that I thought, was the smart thing to do, which I think ultimately was I was like, they're not getting me direction. Hey, they cast me off of this performance. I'm going to do exactly what I did in my casting.
Mm-hmm. That's smart.
Yep. And people are like, yeah, that's what you should have. Yeah. Like they cast you doing this thing. I'm going to do that exactly what
There's a reason why they liked you. Just kind of do that again. Cool.
Exactly. So and again, and now I watch those scenes and I'm like, oh God, I'm horrible. But
you may think so, but you probably aren't as bad as you thought you were. Plus you can take that and learn and go forward. And I mean, you've written it into a pretty goddamn commendable acting career so far.
Thank you.
And you have a lot of years left to keep it going, which is exciting.
Yes.
I want to wrap up in a second just for this. We have a whole month to go over stuff, but I wanted to quickly talk about you getting into podcasting, and you have a few podcasts, and the newest one is Jobsolete, which I listened to 2 of them. I listened to the Town Crier episode and the
Isn't that cool?
The switchboard operator episode. So
give
a quick rundown of what that show is, because it's pretty fascinating.
It's really cool. So it's called Jobsolete. It's put out by iHeartMedia. So you can find it on all the platforms everywhere. It's brand new. We've only dropped 4 episodes so far. And it's about old-timey jobs from the past. And at first, when I heard about the concepts, because it was like just before the lockdown happened, and then people started losing their jobs and there were mass layoffs and stuff. And I was like, I don't know if this is in poor taste considering the time that we're doing it when a lot of people are losing their jobs. But then actually over the process of recording the shows, I'm like, this is actually very hopeful because this shows me jobs have come and gone all throughout history. Jobs have become extinct all throughout history and people bounce back. You know, like this job that you think is so stable is might be gone in 10 years. And like people bounce back and it's, you know, there may be like a tough adjustment at the time, but eventually like other jobs appear and people do other things and you can adapt and you can, you know, switch up and like move on. And so to me, in that sense, it was really hopeful and it is so interesting. So I'm the co-host with a guy named Matt Beat, who is actually like a very popular YouTube historian. He has a channel called Mr. Beat. He is a actual literal social studies teacher.
No shit.
And he started this. Yeah. He's a real a high school social studies teacher. And he started this channel on YouTube actually to help his students like retain more information because they were like so bored in class or whatnot. And he started making these really cool history videos. So he's an American history buff, especially like American presidents and American government. So he does have that expertise. And then I'm just like, you know, there's one of the like promo audio clips that we did where he's like, "Hi, I'm Mr. Beat. I'm Matt Beat, and I'm known on the internet as Mr. Beat, and I'm a history teacher." And I'm like, "And I'm Helen Hong, and I've watched Braveheart twice."
That's it. Yeah.
So that's like our dynamic is like we have a legit historian, and then we have me.
It's fun because
and I'm just gonna say,
go ahead.
Dinky shit.
It sounds. What I like about it. I'm
just gonna say dinky shit like while I learn.
It sounds like when I'm listening to it that you're almost like an audience member, where you're kind of. It sounds like you're learning about it a bit as we are, and I noticed you asked the same questions that I feel like all of us listening are thinking. So it was really, really interesting. And it covers jobs where, like we've all heard the term town crier before, but I never, ever stopped to think about, well, what is that? Yeah. You know, I never knew, and it explains it in depth. And, you know, what an old school phone switchboard operator does and how... When you guys played...
Yeah, like we've all seen that scene in the movie with the switchboard operator, a number, please. And then this lady's like, plug in another one. But did you know that there was a height requirement and a weight requirement? Like, I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, there's so many interesting things about these old jobs that like we might have seen in a movie. We've kind of heard about it somewhere, but... really fascinating. Like there was a height requirement. And if you think about it, it makes sense. You had to be able to reach the top plugs in the very top. So I would never get that job because I'm 5 feet tall.
Right. No, it's interesting. It's a really good premise for a show. And I enjoyed it a lot. And just cool things. It's just you really are learning something when you listen, and it's fun.
Thank you.
It's fun.
Yeah, like it's really it's been so much fun for me and really interesting and really, really fascinating. Like even if you're not like a huge history buff, like we're doing a show on we're about to record a show on sea shanties. Because it's a trend now on TikTok. I guess it's a big trend now on TikTok of like these old school boat captains would like sing these songs to keep the men rowing and and they do a chant and everybody chants and bring me more whiskey like as a way to for the guys to keep time while they were rowing or like while they were doing like jobs on the boat. And so now that's like for some reason trending on TikTok. The songs are trending on TikTok. And so we're like, hey, this is a trend and it's a Jobsolete. Let's do it. So we're recording that episode this weekend.
Oh, I love it.
And we'll drop it as soon as we can. And we did one on a Blockbuster video store clerk.
Oh my God.
Super fun.
Oh my God. And
right?
That's crazy because that's an obsolete job that very recently wasn't. It's
Exactly. Like that went out in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And reminiscing about like what it meant to go to the Blockbuster on a Friday night when you were in high school. Remember those days? Right?
In the town we grew up in, we had video signals, and that was my place to go. And it was just like, the absolute best to me was when you know that a blizzard is coming and you plan to go sleep at a friend's house and his mom drives you to the video store. You know you're going to have 2 or 3 days and just get 6 to 7 horror movies or whatever you're into. It was the best. It was the best.
Yeah.
Yep. Never again. Never again.
Yeah, and never again. I mean, there is one Blockbuster. So we talked to the very last Blockbuster clerk. There's one Blockbuster open in Oregon still. Yeah.
And people go?
It's either Oregon or Washington State, and people go, and it's like it's part museum, but it's still a functioning video store.
Okay.
And so it was like super cool to talk. But yeah, that's a job like that one and the MTV VJ. I think are the 2 jobs that we've done so far that were like happened in our lifetime.
Wow.
But
yeah, like I said, the guy that hosted before this last month was my friend Steve Isaacs, and he was a VJ for 2 years on MTV. And that was part of his joke, is like explaining basically what MTV was to people that are listening, VJ, when we were kids, that was like, was there a cooler job in the world than a VJ?
No.
That was the best.
I mean, no. So like, I feel like I hope it does give people hope because it is rough times and a lot of people are losing their jobs. But like, we adapt and the world is changing so fast that we have to be adaptable.
Yep.
So
beautiful. Yeah. Speaking of adapting, we mentioned this earlier, but you did a really beautiful, like 5-minute video speaking to your father, kind of like reflecting on the year that we've had as human beings, basically worldwide. And describe that video a little bit, because it was really, where did that idea come from? What was it for? And what's the reaction been?
Yeah. So if you might have seen this video, it was making the rounds of Facebook right before the new year. It was on Now This, the platform Now This, which is a big like video, news company. So they drop videos on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all the socials. I think they're biggest on Facebook, I think.
Okay.
And I've done some, and I have a relationship with Now This. I've done some commentary videos with them. I did a video a couple of years ago about the word bitch, how we need to reclaim the word bitch, that went viral, that a lot of people watched, which I still love. But I'm casually talking, like completely just casually talking to my dad, like just before Christmas. And he's like, "Oh, have you seen this Time magazine cover?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, it's the year 2020 with a big red X through it. And it says the worst year ever." And I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting. Well, Dad, you're almost 80. You've lived a long time. Do you think 2020 was the worst year ever?" And he like literally super low key casual goes, "Well, I'd say, when I was in the Korean War and I was freezing and starving and my brother died from cold and we couldn't get enough to eat. Yeah, I'd say that was the worst year." Like, what the fuck? I'm like, holy shit. And he just drops this super low-key casual. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was like, it puts everything in perspective for me, because here I am bitching about being cooped up in my house, when people are, literally, and even today, ask a kid in Afghanistan or Iraq or, some impoverished country, like, was 2020 the worst year ever? No, 2018 was pretty bad too. 2019 was pretty bad too. So like, it's just perspective, right? So I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was like, I really need to get this message out there. Like, that's such a crazy thing that my dad dropped. And like, at first I was like, maybe I should write an article and send it to BuzzFeed or something. But then I thought, oh no, I have this relationship with Now This. I'll pitch it to them as a story. So I did. I pitched it and they were like, well, we can't make any promises because it's Christmas and everybody's off now. So it's going to have to be a really compelling video. So I just did a Zoom interview one-on-one with my dad. And he literally was like, yeah, I had a baby brother who died while we were fleeing the Korean War, and my mom couldn't bury him because the ground was frozen and we didn't have a shovel. And so she found a hole in the ground and put my baby brother's body and just covered it with rocks, and we had to keep fleeing. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was so crazy.
That's your uncle.
That's my uncle. I had an uncle who died when he was 2 in the Korean War.
In this video,
that I'd never heard of.
Right, and that was the craziest part to me, is that, you know, however old you are, you've known your dad your whole life, and you didn't know that that happened.
I had no idea.
And had you not asked,
no idea.
Maybe you never would have found out.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the great comments. Like, somebody commented on my Instagram page, was like, you know, it's so crazy how many things that our parents never tell us about until we ask.
Yep.
You know, they had this whole
100%.
life, and unless we go digging around and asking, it's like we'll just never know about that, you know.
Yep.
And and he just dropped that on me, and I was kind of like, what? And that was a lot of the negative comments that I got on Facebook and YouTube was like, she's so cold, or like her reaction is so shitty.
What?
That her dad just said his brother died, and she's like, what? And she's fake gasping and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, I can see how it came across, because I really was like, wait, are you shitting me right now?
Yeah,
like, I really couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, because he dropped it so casual, I was like, wait, what? What did you
of course.
say?
I think your reaction is the same one I would have. It's like, well, how did I not know this before? And like, what are you supposed to burst into tears immediately over someone you've never heard about?
People were like, she should have cried. She didn't even cry. I'm like, first of all, you don't know me. I never fucking cry.
Right.
I don't have emotions, so
right.
So suck that.
Comedian, there you go. Of course.
But also, like, I was genuinely so like, what? Wait.
I imagine it's a small form of being in shock too, I would think. Like, you're just probably the last thing you expected to hear was that your dad had a little brother that died. I mean, it's crazy.
So crazy. And it
but
was
it
so
really
awkward, because it was over Zoom and everything. You know, it's awkward and stuff. But they did a really great job editing it together. And yeah, I mean, I hope that it gives people perspective. Like, and also I asked them to make sure at the end of the video to be like, no, we understand there are people starving and like homeless in the streets right now. So like, if you can, please donate to this food, you know, the food bank of .org, because it's, you know, it is really, like, for some people, it really is the worst year ever. 2020 really was the worst year ever.
Yeah, I mean,
they became homeless.
Of course. But a lot of your video, that video, it really kind of reminds you about empathy, and just that's why I haven't really tried. I tried not to complain this entire year, because I have somewhere to live. I eat food every day. I have a wife I live with who I love, and I can hug her every day. And a lot of people don't have any of those things. Never mind, you know, one or two of those. So you got to have perspective.
You started walking. You lost your man boobs. I mean, come on.
Titties be gone. They're gone. You know, I got these beautiful legs now. You know, everything's good.
Like, you were going to say these beautiful flat nipples.
No. My
like,
nipples.
It's just nipple. It's just nipple, and there's nothing under it.
No. The breast part went away, but I still have like 3-inch nipples that stick out.
What?
Really,
you have gigantic nips?
Super sharp, like
oh God, I'm gonna throw up.
I don't really have that.
Can I tell you? Okay, good. Because that's I for some reason, nipples, unless they're on a human woman, are so abhorrent to me. Like, one of the reasons why I have a boy dog and not a girl dog is because I can't stand dog nips. Ew.
How
like,
much?
if you're like,
go ahead.
What do you mean?
So how much? I want to end on this question, and then we'll pick up more next week. How much would I have to pay you to put some dog nipple in your mouth and just kind of suck on it for 20 seconds?
Ew.
Just like a...
Oh, God. I can't even pet a female dog. Like, I will be petting a perfectly great dog, and then she'll flip over on her back and be like, rub my belly. And I'm like, nah, bitch.
Nope, you're going to the pound. We're putting you down.
Not touching them nips.
Gross.
Them nips are gross. For some reason, dog nipples.
But do man nipples freak you out?
No, man nipples are okay unless there's titty there. Yeah,
Okay.
moobs aren't cute. Nah.
Well,
I mean, if we
agree.
can wear the same bra, forget it.
Yeah, I don't
if
think...
you could even wear a training bra, nah.
Don't. Yeah, I don't think I ever made it to like an A cup or anything, but I definitely had
Thank God.
more than I was happy with. And it's been a long road, but I'm recovering. I'm recovering nicely, and I'm grateful for where I'm at right now. More work to be done, but it's a start.
You should show if only there was a way that you could show off your beautiful legs on the podcast.
Maybe I'll pop in a picture right here of these nice yams for the rebroadcast.
Your hot ankles. Your
beautiful legs. I want to thank you, by the way, for joining me. I always, if you have podcasts, you get like nervous about asking people, even though you might know them, and you never know. But I do want to thank you for joining. We're going to have a good month. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better because I love your sister so much, and if I love her and she loves you, I know I'm going to love you too. So I'm looking forward to it. People can find you at Funny Helen Hong, I believe, Twitter and Instagram, correct?
Yeah, because some other bitch has at Helen Hong, so don't follow her. She's
what
horrible.
A fucking bitch she is. Awful. So
follow at Funny Helen Hong. Don't follow at Helen Hong. She ain't funny.
No, she ain't shit. And then your podcasts, you got Jobsolete, you have Go Fact Yourself, and
Go Fact Yourself.
And what's the third one?
Wait, don't tell me.
Oh, that's right. And all of those are available.
Which is not my podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're everywhere. So Jobsolete is brand new. We only have 4 episodes out, but we are dropping a new one every week. And it's super cool. We did like seltzer delivery person. We're going to do something called a knocker upper, what is a knocker upper? You'll have to tune in to find out.
I'm intrigued.
It's not what you think it is.
Oh, I'm not intrigued anymore.
And Blockbuster Video. Yeah, we have great ones coming up. So at Jobsolete Pod on Twitter, and you can find it like it's on all the platforms. Go Fact Yourself is celebrity trivia. And Wait, Don't Tell Me is a really popular NPR one. I'm not on that one every week. I'm on like once a month, but yeah, I love it.
Cool. Well, Helen, thank you very much for coming, and thank you everybody for listening. You can find this show, of course, at Rare Form Radio everywhere. Please subscribe on iTunes and all the things. YouTube, likes and comments, the whole shit. But thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week. Send your questions to myself or Helen on Instagram, and we will answer them next week. And remember that tomorrow's just the future's yesterday, and we're just doing our best. Helen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is Lola, and I'm here to tell the world to stop being such pussies and listen to Rare Form Radio.